That's why when people say, and I'll have this conversation in just a couple of minutes with my friend Ann Coulter, when people say, well, but Donald Trump didn't do this, or Donald Trump hasn't built the wall, and Donald Trump this, and Donald Trump has done more, in my opinion, than the last 10 presidents, if you rolled them all up in a ball. He has been more conservative than Ronald Reagan. More conservative. He has been a better friend to Jews than any other president in the history of the United States, with the exception maybe of, I don't know. I don't think there is an exception. And he does it with arrows and slings being thrown at him, with accusations against him, with names he's called, from anti-Semite to homophobic to a bigot, a racist. He just does what he thinks is the right thing, and for that, I will support him until he actually steps away from public office, which I anticipate to be right around 2024. Just saying, that I'm beginning to crunch those numbers, and it's looking really bad for the Democrats right now. Anyway, stay right where you are. Ann Coulter's coming up next on this here Joyce Kaufman Show. All right. Well, I'll tell you what's trending right now all over the place is, Jeffrey Epstein didn't commit suicide. Yeah. And the key witnesses in the impeachment hearing are speaking, and that's all we can talk about. Or perhaps if you're Matt Drudge, all you can talk about is how Ann Coulter is turning on the president. That seems to be one of his favorite headlines, and one of my least favorite, Annie. I got to tell you.
As you know, it was utterly unfair, that last one. I was just trolling Trump for a dumb tweet.
I know. And that's what I don't understand. And I have to, ask you this question, because I know you're friends with Matt, and
you are his favorite talk radio host.
Not anymore. because of late I've had to question some of his judgment. I mean, I could not get the Drudge Report on my Apple devices for like 3 months, and then all of a sudden it came back on, and the tenor had changed dramatically. So I'm really hoping that he has not caved to pressure, because, I need a news source that I can depend on to be at least somewhat balanced.
Well, for one thing, he is a news hound, and as if you recall from previous big news stories, he'll do the stories when they're breaking one way, and then you'll get the headlines when the story falls apart. Mm-hmm. But I do think that, and I don't know, I am not him. I think he's just blown up at the same things I have been gently needling the president over and you have too, for the past 3 years, and that's to, go back to the immigration promises and the wall.
Yeah. Well, I put up a video today of actual wall being built, even whether it's by private monies or not. But, listen, now apparently the White House has decided they're going to have a running video of it, because they need to quiet Ann Coulter up. so whatever it takes, Ann, whatever it takes.
Works.
That's right, exactly. But of course, this nonsense that's going on in Washington now is just so frustrating, because we can't even talk about illegal immigration anymore, because we have to protect Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman and his family. We're going to have to move them to a military base because they're in physical danger.
Oh, yeah, screw him. I'm on my way to Berkeley. I have been watching some of the hearing this morning,
yes.
And I've cracked the whole thing.
Okay.
It was so unbelievably boring. I was jealous of people who have jobs and could not watch it. And I'm just watching these two birds thinking, I don't care that they have gold-plated health care, pensions, they're overcompensated for jobs that are utterly irrelevant. I wouldn't want to have their lives. They have It's boring beyond belief, and there is absolutely no point to anything they do. So I think all these Foreign Service guys are living Walter Mitty lives where they imagine their advice is so crucial to the future of the world. And they just happen to at this moment, the Democrats agree with their Walter Mitty lives because they think it's a way to get the president. But it's utterly embarrassing watching these two. I mean, for a while, I hope you did not have to watch it.
No.
The girl witness was going on and on about, like, hotel availability and Secret Service flights and whether, Air Force this or that would be available. It would be like hearing a 1-hour lecture from a travel agent. And I promise you, a travel agent would find it boring. It's her job.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, it's been a big dud. I was talking to Tom Jipping over at the Heritage Foundation. It's like they haven't gotten anything that they wanted from this, but the Trump campaign has managed to raise millions of dollars off it.
And to the contrary, I wish I knew. I don't really pay attention to politicians other than the ones I like, and that's easy because there are only
three.
Two.
Right.
But the guy who was just questioning Vindman totally got him tongue-tied and unable to speak. Not that any of it matters. I mean, the overriding point your listeners should know is the Constitution places responsibility for foreign policy in a single individual.
Correct.
It's very clear at the Constitutional Convention and in the resulting document that this was part of the reason the Articles of Confederation fell apart. We didn't want a king, but in terms of foreign policy, it had to be in the hands of one man, so that decisions could be made quickly and not by committee, and that there would be discretion and judgment. And that's the one man who was elected nationally in the entire nation. There's only one person.
Right.
So foreign policy is totally up to the president. And like I say, all these Foreign Service birds think they are living these Walter Mitty lives. This is not a new position for me. Unlike Democrats, I don't suddenly come up with new ideas on what's impeachable and what isn't as the wind blows. We haven't even needed ambassadors. Forget this
Right.
this phalanx of foreign policy officers. Ever since air travel was invented, ever since the telephone was invented, forget the internet. The reason you used to have ambassadors in places like Paris, like Benjamin Franklin, was because it took 3 months to sail across the ocean.
Right.
Now it's just a sinecure job, way overpaid and utterly, completely irrelevant.
Well, but they make it sound so very important, and all these people are so unimpeachable, according to the Democrats. Unfortunately, none of this is working. The president's numbers go up in spite of it, and those who hate him will never not hate him. And you and I know that, and that's why I do sometimes get angry when you give them any fuel for their insanity. But listen,
well, what's going to save the president, and not only the president, but the Republicans? I've been thinking of writing this up, how I think the Republicans should respond, because it is really painfully boring. You are 100% right. The only people watching and paying attention to this are the 41% who implacably hates Trump. They would impeach him day one. They said they were going to impeach him day one. But meanwhile, nothing's getting done. And I kind of think Republican congressmen and senators should just, maybe they can have a couple of point people there just for the laugh. But go back to their districts, say, look, no business is getting done here in Washington. Go back to their districts, talk to the people. That's always good for you and me, George,
right?
Because when the people are speaking rather than the donors, one particular topic seems to come up an awful lot, and that's immigration. But go back to the districts, make it public, live stream it, propose. I mean, there are some bills that can start in the Senate. Propose those bills. Things that Americans want to get done. The Democrats are shooting themselves in the foot, I think. I mean, it's not helping them. Just these endless hearings and doing nothing to make Americans' lives better, to create jobs, to pass an infrastructure bill, to deal with crime, and
got
so
a
on and so
defense
forth.
authorization that's up in 3 days.
But that's not only what Republicans in Congress should be doing. That is what Trump should be doing.
Yeah.
Just forget these hearings. It's helping you. Just act like, Nancy Pelosi is your number one fundraiser right now.
Right.
And fulfill your promises. That is what is going to get him reelected.
And I think to some extent he has done a lot of that, and it is working for him. But you're right. I mean, Bill Clinton ignored him. He said, I got to get back to the work of the people. And that worked very well. I mean, even people who didn't support him.
Did nothing.
And he did nothing.
We have things on our to-do list, and they're not getting done.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So you're going to Berkeley. Now, the last time you were supposed to go to Berkeley, I went to Berkeley and you didn't. So now I can't go. So tell me, what is this all about? Is this, I hope it's not from some conservative group, because before you know it, you can get condemned like Michelle Malkin, and then it's, you got to ask yourself, this crazy what's going on.
No, I know. Well, as you'll recall, that's why half of the North American media was at Berkeley the day I was supposed to speak, but I wasn't speaking. I never turned back down.
No.
Never. It was my sponsor, YAF, who at the last minute, without telling me, said, "You're not speaking there." So,
okay.
I couldn't show up like a nut, and when I don't even have a sponsor for the speech anymore. But it left me high and dry, and I had been assuring members of the media, I'm going. I mean, YAF wanted to back down from day one. They always just wanted a statement and a lawsuit. So from the very first requirements, but they should have guessed, because as each of the onerous requirements that Berkeley kept coming out with, it has to be between these hours when kids are in class. It has to be in this small venue, blah, blah, blah. And YAF kept saying to me, this is outrageous. They don't do this to liberal speakers. We're issuing a statement. And I'd say, no, I want to speak. Accept. I just kept accepting everything. And then there was nothing else they could do except withdraw without telling me. So I'm sorry that you and many other journalists flew out there. This time, I think Berkeley, I don't know, we'll see what happens, but I think Berkeley is embarrassed about what happened. I mean, you may recall that around that time, not only were the girls on The View making fun of Berkeley, but President Obama brought it up without provocation. No one said, what do you think about Ann Coulter speaking at Berkeley? He just brought up, this is outrageous that Ann Coulter can't speak at Berkeley.
Right.
So I think Berkeley administrators thought, man, this is really embarrassing.
Right.
We've got someday she's got to come back, and we have to make sure she's allowed to speak.
So who's sponsoring it? It's not YAF.
College Republicans.
Okay. All right. So good for them. It's time to stand up and fight back. Are there any predictions? I mean, don't be afraid of Antifa.
No, I'm expecting a warm welcome from the Berkeley community. I think they'll be excited to hear me. I was just working on my speech yesterday, and I'm keeping it short so that we have plenty of time for question and answer.
Time to escape.
Those are always the funnest parts of college speeches.
Yeah.
So, give me your best shot.
Right. But
Outwit me.
Are you on campus? Because the last time they sent us to some park that was off campus.
Oh, well, as you know, since I wasn't speaking all night, I was speaking out to a Republican group nearby the next night. But we did have drinks and dinner in Berkeley, so I didn't leave you completely high and dry. And then went and gave a lovely speech to a group, I think it was in Oxnard. In any event, it's on campus, Wheeler Hall. And I hope it will be like the old days of my college speeches. They were a lot of fun. I let liberals ask all the questions they can. And by the way, I really should be pointing this out for someplace where Berkeley students can hear it. At Harvard and Yale, they ask questions.
Right.
They're smart.
Hey, listen.
Might get me to change my mind. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Well, good luck. Have a safe time. Definitely call and let me know what the reaction has been and what you saw. I mean, I'm sure I'll read about it in the press, but I want to hear a firsthand report.
I think it will be warm and welcoming.
Yes. Wear a coat. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Good to talk to you, Joyce.
Always a pleasure. Ann Coulter. You can find her at her website, anncoulter.com, and she writes everywhere. We'll be right back. Oh boy, I'll tell you, you just can't make this stuff up, nor would I want to for any particular reason, because so much going on. Ann Coulter will be at Berkeley tomorrow. That should be exciting. Michelle Malkin got fired by YAF, with the ones that backed out of the last Ann Coulter speaking engagement there. And the video that I thought I sent to Brennan, I still have to send to him, and we'll do that. But I just wanted to, share one last thought with you, because I think it's really, it's part of what I enjoy about my job. And there are some aspects of my job that I don't enjoy, but there are some that I do. And I was looking over last week's impeachment testimony, I guess over the weekend. And, they keep talking about shadow diplomacy and how Rudy Giuliani really wasn't authorized and should not have been conducting this so-called shadow diplomacy. And so I looked up, every single president, including President Obama, have enlisted the close personal friends to go out and get information. And I could trace it from FDR straight through Donald Trump. But there's nothing that Donald Trump does that doesn't just infuriate the people who hate him. And among all the instruments that are available to the president in his conduct of foreign relations, none is more flexible than the use of personal representatives. He is free to employ officials of the government or private citizens. He may give them rank and title as seems appropriate to the tasks. Those designations may be ambassador, commissioner, agent, delegate, or he may assign no title at all. He may send his agents to any place on earth that he thinks desirable and give them instructions either by word of mouth and in writing or through the Department of State. Period. That's what a special envoy is. The shadow diplomacy was the State Department's bureaucrats. So I thank you for your time this time. Until next time, I will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. if it be his will and he delays his coming. Thank you, Sharina. Another job well done. But most of all, thank you for listening. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.